Hello and welcome to day 7 of Business English 2. We have been looking at Editor's Challenge number 1, the memo at Consolidated Industries involving the different parts of speech. So let's just pick up where we left off last time. We're looking here at the recommendations or the suggestions as it mentions here. Number 1, and that's how we would read that if we're looking at a list of things. When we get to each one, we would say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay? Or you could say first, second, third, fourth, but often we would just say, here are some suggestions. Number 1, ask yourself whether the recipient will actually use the information immediately. If not, select a cheaper method, a less expensive method. Number 2, send messages by fax or email. Remember, via means like by way of. We often use that for travel. I traveled to San Francisco via Tokyo, which means I went from Incheon to Tokyo, then to San Francisco. Via, by way of, or through. I went through Tokyo on the way there. A long-distance fax costs only about 35 cents. What is a long-distance fax? What does that even mean, long distance? Well, when we talk about phone calls, if you are in Incheon and you're calling someone else with an Incheon number, like a 032 number, then that's a local call. However, if you're calling somebody in Seoul, a 02 number, or in the southern part of the country, like a 055 number, that would be a long distance call. Now, in the past, those calls were more expensive. You had to pay for those. Now, especially with cell phone numbers, a lot of times it doesn't matter, at least in your own country. However, if you're calling a number in Japan or the United States or Vietnam, those would be long distance calls. In that case, international calls, which is a type of long distance call. Okay. So a long distance fax. Faxes, the calls themselves are fairly short because it's just an electronic transmission. So you don't have a long fax call. They're just a minute or so. So they only cost about 35 cents, maybe 500 won. Blank. Local messages cost nothing. Local messages are free. Email messages are equally inexpensive. Basically, email is free. Obviously, you need a computer, you need an internet connection, or Wi-Fi at least, but basically the message itself is free to send. So, what's in the blank here? A conjunction. Now, I mentioned these last time, and you had some examples to look at. So let's look at these more closely today. So a conjunction, you can see here, is a word that connects, joins together words or groups of words. If you think about the word junction, like where two highways meet, or even streets, that's a junction. Sometimes in Korea they use IC for that. What's an IC? That would be an interchange, where two highways meet, or you get off of one highway onto a different highway, but it's still that junction, that joining of them. Okay, we use this also for like electrical wiring, an electric junction box, where the wires come together and then split off into different directions. So, a conjunction is a word that connects words or groups of words. For example, I enjoy rock, hip-hop, and jazz, but not classical music. So the conjunctions here, and but, join together the other parts of the sentence. Other examples of conjunctions: and, or, but, as, also, so. Okay, and let's look at this in a little more detail. We have these coordinating conjunctions, and you can see here on the slide there are 7 coordinating conjunctions. They give equal importance to the words or sentences that they connect. And remember, this one is called, we use the word fanboys here. If you look at the shape of this graphic, it looks like a fan that you would use to cool yourself in the summer. That sort of curved shape like that, like a paper or plastic fan. So fanboys uses the first letter of each of these words. What do we call a word that does that, where we use the first letter of a group of words to make another word? For example, one you'd be familiar with would be NASA, National Aeronautic Space Administration. But we don't say NASA. We say NASA. We pronounce it like a word. Rock. R-O-K. But we pronounce it rock. What is rock? That is Republic of Korea. That is sort of an abbreviation for the formal or the official name of South Korea. South Korea is sort of the common name, but the official name is the Republic of Korea, the ROC. Now, again, we say NASA and ROC. What are those called when we form a word from those initial letters? That is called an acronym. An acronym. Acronym. Where we pronounce it like a word. Now, there are some others, like FBI or USA. Those are the initial letters of the words for Federal Bureau of Investigation or United States of America, but we don't say FBI or USA. Okay, so those are not really acronyms. Those are just initials. Okay, or sometimes I think they call those initialisms. Okay, but here we have an acronym. We take the F-A-N-B-O-Y-S and form the word fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Those are the coordinating conjunctions. So let's look at some more details here, some more examples. So, if we look at these, we have comma, for, comma, and, comma, nor, comma, but. Notice that each of the fanboys needs a comma in front of it. There's a comma in front of each one of these. So say, comma, conjunction, comma, conjunction. Repeat that, comma, conjunction. You will always have a comma before the conjunction, comma, conjunction, comma, for, comma, and, comma, nor, comma, but, comma, or, comma, yet, comma, so. Each of these needs a comma in front of it in certain sentences, okay, depending on how they're used. Okay, let's look at some examples here. And we're talking about when you use them in a compound sentence. A compound sentence is basically when you take one sentence and another sentence and you join them together to make one sentence. Just like in chemistry class, you had a chemical compound like H2O. We have hydrogen and oxygen joined together. That's a chemical compound. Okay? This is a compound sentence where you have a sentence and a sentence, you join them together but you can't just stick them together with glue. You need to join them together with a comma and a conjunction. A comma and one of those fanboys. Okay, comma, conjunction. Again, fanboys, F-A-N-B-O-Y-S, for and nor, but, or, yet, so. That's the fanboys, the conjunctions. Okay, so let's look at some simple examples. Now, these sentences are very simple, and that's the purpose of an example, is to be simple, to be clear, so that it is easily understood. Okay? And notice that we'll go through these, for and nor, but, or, yet. So in that order, just to help you remember them. So first of all, for. She must have been very hungry, for she ate everything immediately. She must have been very hungry. That's a sentence. She ate everything immediately. That's a sentence. We join those together with a comma right after the word hungry, comma, conjunction. She must have been very hungry, for she ate everything immediately. What does the word for mean here? She must have been very hungry because she ate everything immediately. Okay, that's what it means in this case. And, you know what that means, just also. They went to the park, and they went down the slide. They went to the park, comma, conjunction, and they went down the slide. They went to the park, that's a sentence. They went down the slide. That's a sentence. How do we join those together? Comma, conjunction. Nor. Nor is kind of like a not also. And also not this. Okay? Mike doesn't like doing his homework. Nor does he like going to school. Now, Mike doesn't like doing his homework. That's a sentence. Does he like going to school? Is that a question? By itself, does he like going to school? That could be a question, but we don't have a question mark here. But we have the conjunction nor in front of it, which changes it. Okay? And this is kind of a special one. It changes the entire sentence. Mike doesn't like doing his homework, nor does he like going to school, means he doesn't like doing his homework, and he also does not like going to school. So it's like, and he does not like going to school. So nor is kind of like a and not also. Okay? So but you can't just remove it from the sentence and leave the sentence like this. Does he like going to school? That doesn't make sense by itself. You'd have to say, he also does not like going to school. Okay? So be careful with that one. And nor isn't, I would say, is not used as frequently as the others. A lot of people don't use it because they think it sounds too formal. But it is used, and so you do need to understand it and make sure that you can use it. Okay? But the park is empty now, but it will be filled with children after school. The park is empty now, that's a sentence. It will be filled with children after school. So this is something different. It's empty, but it will be full. Again, comma, conjunction. Or you have a choice. You can't have both. It's this one or this one. Oh, you can't have both together, but you can choose. There's a choice. We could go get ice cream, or we could go get pizza. We can't have both. But we can have one or the other. And remember, comma, conjunction. Yet, projects can be really exciting, yet they may require a lot of hard work. Projects can be really exciting. That's a sentence. They may require a lot of work, a lot of hard work. Also a sentence. Comma, conjunction. Yeah, what does that mean? Projects can be really exciting, but they may require a lot of work. Or you could even think of, however, projects can be really exciting. However, they may require a lot of hard work. And so, I want to go to bed, so I am brushing my teeth. I want to go to bed. That's a sentence. I am brushing my teeth. Also a sentence. Join them together with so. I want to go to bed, therefore, I am brushing my teeth. We have a cause, I want to go to bed, and an effect, I am brushing my teeth. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. Something happens, that's the cause. It causes this to happen. This is the effect. Cause and effect. Okay. Now, let's look at some more complex examples. Okay. The first ones were really simple, which is great for examples, but in real life, often our sentences are more complex than that, a little more difficult. So let's look at some more examples here. And again, we have fanboys. We have fanboys again. So, number one, the first one. Students have to read their textbooks, for each class is based on theories students need to learn. Students have to read their textbooks, sentence, comma, conjunction. For each class is based on theories students need to learn. Because. And. Earning a college degree requires a lot of dedication, and it costs a lot of money. Sentence, comma, conjunction, sentence. By joining them together with the comma and conjunction, we make a single sentence called a compound sentence. Compound. I'm going to put it in here on the whiteboard. Okay? Nor. Employers do not want employees who cannot solve problems. Nor do they want workers who are lazy. So employers do not want employees who cannot solve problems. They want problem solvers. Nor do they want workers who are lazy. And they do not also, they do not want workers who are lazy. Or they do not want workers who are lazy either. Okay, it's like a not either, neither. Okay? But going to school while working at a job is difficult, but the rewards will pay off later. Opposite. It's difficult, but it has rewards. Or, students can either buy their textbooks or they can rent it from a book rental service. They can buy the textbooks or rent it. There's a problem here in this example. Can you find it? There's a different grammatical error in this sentence. Can you identify it? If you need to, pause the video for a minute and see if you can find the error. Students can either buy their textbooks, notice the S here, that's plural, or they can rent it. It is singular, just one, from a book rental service. So, we have a singular plural problem. Singular, one, plural, more than one. So we have a singular plural issue here. Okay? How do we fix it? We have to make them agree. So if we start with the original sentence, students can either buy their textbooks if we want, because usually you have more than one textbook. So we could say students can either buy their textbooks or they can rent them from a book rental service. Books, them. The pronoun, them, replacing the noun textbooks. Or if we're talking about just a single textbook, maybe for a particular class, a certain book, you could say students can either buy their textbook or they can rent it from a book rental service. Okay, yet, learning can be very exciting and invigorating, yet it can also be exhausting. I think you know that. I'm sure these online classes, watching all of these videos, plus all the homework, can be exhausting, of course. So, studying means more than reading the textbook. So, in order to make sure they understand what they've read, successful students will also think about how to apply what they've read. So studying means more than reading the textbook. You have to read the textbook, or the notes, or the PowerPoint slides, the handouts, whatever it is. You have to read that, but you need to do more than that. So, therefore, in order to make sure they understand what they've read, successful students will also think about how to apply what they've read, how to apply, how to use what they've read in real life, in their lives, on the job, in the future, to solve problems. Okay? All right, so we need a conjunction here. Fanboys. Think for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. A long-distance fax costs only about 35 cents, but local messages cost nothing. They're free. You could also use and here. A long-distance fax costs only about 35 cents, and local messages cost nothing. It's very inexpensive, or even free. Number 3, use the FedEx or UPS account number blank the recipient whenever possible. Remember, the recipient is the receiver. The recipient is the receiver. The person who gets the package, receives the package. So sometimes we should pay. Sometimes we need to pay for the shipping. But other times, if the recipient has requested express shipping or something that we don't normally provide for free, then we want them to pay for the shipping cost, if possible. It depends on the business, on the product, on the material, on your policy. But if possible, use the FedEx or UPS account number. Make them pay, if you can. Use the FedEx or UPS account number of the recipient whenever possible, or the account number for the recipient, okay, the one that belongs to them, so that they pay for it instead of us. Again, it depends on your relationship with the customer, it depends on your policy, it depends on the situation, but if they say, hey, we really need it tomorrow, send it FedEx, make them pay, okay? If they're requesting that express shipping, they should understand that that is more expensive. Okay. Number 4, plan ahead so that blank can use FedEx or UPS ground service. Plan ahead so that you can use FedEx or UPS ground service. So what is ground service? Well, as you saw in the movie with Tom Hanks, FedEx and also UPS, DHL, they often use jets to transport things because it's much faster, especially if you are going across a large distance or overseas. You need to use airplanes to transport that. And that's expensive. Airplane travel, air cargo is pricey. But if you can do it slower and cheaper, use ground service. So what does that mean? That means it's on the ground. It's not in the air. It's on the ground, on the surface. So what would they use? If it's ground service, they would use trucks, they would use vans. They would not use airplanes. Now, even if it travels by air to get to its final destination, yes, they would still use a truck or a van or a combination of those to transport it to the final destination, okay, to bring it to your home or to your business. But in general, the air service would be the faster, the expedited shipping, the express service. Ground service, there's no air travel involved. It only travels on the ground, on the streets, trucks and vans. And they have all different sizes of trucks. They have huge trucks, they have smaller trucks, they have box trucks, okay? But that would be the ground service. Plan ahead so that you can use FedEx or UPS ground service. These ground blanks take about 3 to 5 days. These ground shipments, these ground services, these ground deliveries, all of those work take about 3 to 5 days. So if you're using an express service, it will take 1 to 2 days, depending on the location and everything. 1 or 2 days. Ground services take 3 to 5 days. It takes longer. If you fly from California to New York, it takes, I think, about 4 hours. However, if you drive from California to New York, that takes about 4 days. So there's a huge difference. Now in Korea, it's a much smaller country. So if you fly from Seoul to Busan, it takes an hour. If you drive from Seoul to Busan, it takes 5 hours. Both of those can happen in a day. So maybe if you used air service to Busan, it could arrive same day. But maybe if you did a ground service, it might take 2 days. Okay, just because of transferring and things like that. Maybe it would take overnight instead of same-day service. Okay. Some overnight shipments, of course, blank critical. We need a verb. Some overnight shipments are critical. Some things are important. Some things must be there overnight. If you're talking about maybe medical supplies, a contract, some sort of vital document, maybe an emergency passport, or a piece of machinery or a tool that is vital, that must be there overnight. That's a critical shipment. Okay? So some overnight shipments, of course, are critical. They're vital. They're necessary. Critical. Vital or necessary. Okay? Or we could use remain critical. Some overnight shipments, they have been critical, and they remain critical. They are still critical. Okay? However, to retain our budget for those essential shipments, we must blank our overall use by 1/2 before April 1st. So, however, to retain, to keep, or maintain our budget, to keep from losing it, to prevent losing it, to retain our budget for those essential shipments. Essential, those are the critical ones, the vital, the necessary ones. Okay? To keep our budget for those essential shipments, we must cut our overall use by 1/2. Or a deep cut. We could say a slash. A slash we use for this punctuation symbol. That's a slash. A slash is like a deep cut. So if you slash somebody's throat, it's like, okay? And you'll often use that, you'll often see that in businesses, in stores, where they slash prices. It's like a big sale, okay? It's a deep, serious cut. So, and we need to cut them in half here. So that's a pretty big cut, okay? Or you could simply say reduce. We must reduce our overall use by 1/2 before April 1st. If we don't reduce it by half, remember that was the order here from the CEO. We have to reduce our use of these express services by 50%. Okay? So we must cut our use by 1/2, by 50%, before April 1st. If you can think of blank ways to reduce overnight shipments, please call me. So if you can think of, now we need adjectives, blank ways. If you can think of, there's a lot of different words you could use here. If you can think of other ways, additional ways, more ways, further ways, alternate ways, creative ways, effective ways, better ways to reduce these shipments, call me. Okay? Now, the word further here, let's look at that for a moment. Further. There's a couple of words here. Further and farther. Okay? They're very similar, but they have a little different meaning. It's probably easier to look at farther first. Farther comes from the word far. If we talk about how far something is, we are talking about physical distance. Okay. For example, if we're in Incheon, if we go to Seoul or Busan, which one is farther? Well, Seoul is not very far. It's only about an hour away. However, Busan is 5 hours away. So, Busan is farther away than Seoul. Farther refers to physical distance. Okay? Physical distance. Miles or kilometers. Okay? However, further refers to more distance or depth in concept or in principle or in the idea. So, for example, today we talked about conjunctions. We will talk about conjunctions further later in the semester. We'll talk about that further in more detail. Okay, we'll examine it, we'll explore it, we'll look at them more. We'll talk about them further in the future. Okay? Now, if you can think of other ways to reduce overnight shipments, please call me at, what is this? EXT period 213. EXT period. EXT period. That means extension. Okay? Like a phone extension. For example, if you are in a hotel and your colleague, your work partner is in another hotel room in the same hotel, if you want to call their room, do you call the whole hotel number? The long hotel number? No. You just dial their room number. That would be the extension. So if they are in room 213, If they are in room 213, then you could just dial extension 213. Or at some hotels, depending on their phone system, maybe you dial 7 plus 213. Okay, maybe you have to dial another digit first. But you would dial their room number. You don't call the hotel number and then get that number. Or if you call a hotel or a company and you want to talk to a specific person, that person will normally have a phone extension. That's like the phone that's in their office, the phone that's sitting on their desk, not at the main number for the company, but they will have an extension. Often it's like the last 3 or 4 digits of their phone number. Same thing on campus here. All of the phone numbers have the first, what's like 032, and then the first 3 digits are the same. The last 4 digits are different. So those, and if you're on campus using a campus phone, you can dial just those last 4 digits, the extension. Okay, the phone extension. So you would read this. If you can think of other ways, to reduce overnight shipments, please call me at extension 213. Extension 213. I appreciate your ideas and your blank in solving this problem. I appreciate your ideas, and we need some other nouns here. Lots of choices again. I appreciate your ideas and your cooperation. Working together with me. Your help. Your assistance. Your input. Your input is your ideas, the information, your creativity. That would be a good one to put there too, creativity. Your effort, the work that you put into it. Instead of using an express shipment, use a ground shipment. Your effort, because that takes more work maybe. You have to think about it. You have to plan ahead. You have to look up the other company's account number and input that into the system. So it does take some effort. Okay? All right. Make sure you review these. Take a look at these. Make sure you understand how all of the parts of speech are used here. Obviously, that's the end of this one. Keep this handout handy. Okay, this is a really good reference. It's got a lot of good examples and very simple definitions. Don't forget to watch out for proper nouns or be aware of those. Okay. Now, the only thing that was not in this editor's challenge, the only part of speech that was not included was an interjection. Okay, so let's look at that real quick. An interjection is the word that expresses surprise or a strong feeling. Wow! That was the best movie I've ever seen. Wow! That's the interjection. Surprise or strong feeling. Other interjections here? Yes! If you hit your hand, ouch! Ow! Ouch! Awesome! Cool! If you hear something kind of upsetting, shocking, surprising, yikes! Okay? So all of those are interjections. Now, if you look at this other handout with the parts of speech on it, you will see all of those parts of speech, nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, and interjections, all used in here, and all of them color-coded, like all of the nouns are red, like this box here. Miko, ball, Amelia, ball, net, goal. Those are all nouns. Now the one to be careful with here, the one that we didn't really talk about, is the word the. The is sort of this kind of light green here. The is a type of adjective. Okay, we talk about the words a, an, and the. and we say that those are articles, and those are articles, but those articles are a type of adjective. Okay, so just keep that in mind. These words a and the are considered adjectives. Okay, and if you look down here on the examples, it mentions the. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, I will warn you or give you advance notice here. On your quizzes, on your exams, you will have something that looks very much like this, where you will have a sentence, a short paragraph, and you will need to identify, label all of the parts of speech, just like this is. Okay, so just study this, become very familiar with it, make sure that you understand how all of the parts of speech are used here. Okay? All right. So that is it for today. I just need to remind you a couple things about homework and upcoming material. So you have a journal writing assignment. Okay? We started a couple of weeks ago. Remember, you need to do 10 journal entries, and those journal entries will be worth 10% of your final grade for the course. So for each entry, 1%. You should be doing 1 entry per week starting 2 weeks ago. This is week 4. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago is when we introduced this. I'm going to collect them after the first 5 entries. So that will mean that you should have written an entry in week 2, week 3, this is week 4, week 5, and week 6. That will be the first 5 entries. I will collect them at the end of that week, which is Sunday, April 26th. Okay, we will still be doing online courses at that time, so you will need to email those to me. Okay. And those are due at midnight that Sunday night. Okay, that's the end of week 6. They should be typed and saved as a Microsoft Word document. Remember, please, no HWP files. Okay, should be a Microsoft Word document. And we will discuss the formatting later. I'll talk about that in a week or two. Okay, the margins, the font size, the line spacing. Okay, I'll go over that later. And that's something you can change pretty quickly. Okay, so don't panic about that. Each entry should be about a page if you double space. Like you can see here, these lines I'm typing here are double spaced. Double spaced means there's like a blank here. Okay, it's not line. There's line. So there's a little bit of there's a blank line between here. This is double spaced. Okay, my little whiteboard over here. Okay, but we'll talk about the specific requirements for that later. All right. Remember the first 5 topics for these first 5 entries that are due. The first one should be a self-introduction. The second one, write about what you did during the winter break. The third one, write about something that you have learned during the first few weeks of this class. Number 4, what are your personal and professional strengths? Think about job search. What would you put as personal strengths, professional strengths? What are your skills and qualifications? Maybe your personality traits that will make you a good worker, that will make you accurate or a good team player. Number 5, what's your ideal job? Remember to think about, don't just say I want to be a banker, okay? But more about the work environment or the work atmosphere. Do you want to work independently or as part of a group? How important is salary or versus personal time? Your work and life balance. Do you want a set schedule, 9 to 5 every day, or would you prefer a more flexible work schedule? Okay. Do you want to be in the office, or would you like to be able to work from home? That has become very important here during this crisis, where many people around the world are working from home for the first time. So think about that. Okay, what's your ideal work situation? Okay, not just the job title. Okay, all right. And then the last 5 entries that you'll do after that, after I've collected them, the next 5 entries, you'll have more freedom, flexibility to choose your topics. Okay, but the first 5 entries, I want you to follow these topics here. Okay, we have finished the first Editor's Challenge. You're going to have a new Editor's Challenge, I call Editor's Challenge 2. That will be due next Monday, so 1 week from today. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Okay, it is formatted as an email. You'll see here we have the from, the to, CC, and the subject. Thanks for considering Zytec software. If we look at the instructions, the following email message contains 30 misspelled or misused words, some of which you looked up in earlier exercises. Now, obviously, we're not using the entire textbook, so you have not looked these up. Okay. It says, underline any error and write a correction above. So as you go through it, you will find the mistakes, words that are misspelled, spelled incorrectly, or misused, the wrong word, or maybe it's a homonym, or it's a word that's not quite what it should be. Okay? So, and the last part of the instructions there, obviously don't worry about. We are not using the website. I will upload this for you on Blackboard, so you have this document, or I'll probably just send it on Kakao also. So, that is it for today. Now, this Thursday, we're going to do a little different format. Instead of an online recorded lecture like this, we are going to do a Zoom orientation class. Okay, just an introduction, a warm-up, sort of a practice class using Zoom. As the semester goes on, obviously we're going to be online for a while. So I want to have the option of using Zoom sometimes. I won't use it every week. I will not use it for every class. But there are times when I would like you to be able to interact with each other, to work together on things, and just to see you. You have been watching me for the past month. I want to be able to see you, to see your faces, to hear your voices, and for you to see each other. So this Thursday, we will do a live Zoom class. Okay, I'll send details on that on Kakao. But that will be on Thursday at our regular class time. It's a live class, so it is at our scheduled class time on Thursday. Okay? Well, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you live on Thursday. Thank you.